At the end of the 19th century, chess was all about giving up pawns and pieces in the opening for a quick attack on the king. Steinitz came to the conclusion that these attacks only succeeded because of defensive errors. Steinitz believed that if both players play without errors, the only result can be a draw. This means that if your opponent hasn't committed any mistakes in development, sacrificing pawns and pieces for a kingside attack in the opening is unjustified.
Sacrifices early in the game are mostly unsound, or else they succeed only in consequence of moves on the other side, which can be demonstrated as errors of development.
According to Steinitz, even giving up one pawn with the white pieces can endanger the outcome of the game, if black finds the right defense.
In fact, it is now conceded by all experts that by proper play on both sides, the legitimate issue of a game ought to be a draw, and that the right of making the first move might secure that issue, but is not worth the value of a pawn.
Steinitz claims that the kingside attack is actually more dangerous for the attacker than for the defender, if the defender takes the appropriate defensive measures.
This means that a few simple precautions will render the king so safe that any attempt at attacking his wing will be more dangerous for the opponent than for himself. For such attacks can only be formed either by advancing pawns on that wing, in which case those pawns become weak for the ending, if the attack fails, or else by directing several pieces against the adverse king, and thus on some other point of the board the opponent may break in with superior forces.
Steinitz shifts his attention from the romantic kingside attack to the development of a theory of weak squares, or holes.
But it has been proven beyond any doubt that irrespective of an attack against the adverse king, the mere weakness of any square on any part of the board will cause great inconvenience and trouble, and very often will be fatal.
This is one of Steinitz's biggest discoveries, the fact that squares can be weak. The aim of the game between masters is not to go for the mate immediately, but to put pressure on the weak points in the adversary's position.
In the middle of the game, such weak points will generally be occupied by a hostile piece that will exercise a menacing attitude, and will be extremely difficult to dislodge. This often gives the adversary time to strengthen his position.
Steinitz concludes that against a good opponent, you first need superior strategy, before you can finish the game with combinations.
But even the sound combinations that involve great sacrifices very rarely present difficulties as great as the maintenance of the balance of position, and the strategy required in leading up to the final winning process.